I'm wondering, you guys have done a lot of work. You've got feedback from the distributors. Other than asking distributors and their personnel to get trained on the tool, which may only take 20 minutes and be an ongoing process, have you asked anything else of distributors, or have distributors, said we want to do something? So I'm thinking like point of sale data. That's always been a bone of contention in a lot of industries. I don't know if I want to share back with you point of sale data. Or other things. Have you guys asked the distributors to do anything differently, or is it more that, hey, we have this tool, we've done all the work, all you have to do is use it? So I'm just wondering if you've got any pushback, or you've asked for anything from the distributors, and whether what it is and whether you've gotten it, or there's still things to work through. So, I don't know, Bhavani, you're shaking your head.
Sure,
so
yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's a lot, especially with the ideas aspect embedded in the platform. We have a lot of feedback from users that are in the platform. We do have some distributors that actually want to connect their internal procurement systems into the platform, right? So really leveraging APIs to connect to different pieces of functionality that's available on the platform. So so there's a lot of, as they're in there using it.
Has anyone done that yet? Actually connected there? Or is that just
so that's something we will be piloting here going into,
okay.
Yeah. So, but we have a lot of these requests coming in, right? So really for them to be able to punch out from their procurement system into the platform and bring it back. So there's definitely, a lot of different things that the user community is asking. In terms of where, what we are seeing is the folks that are really driving the adoption, they're looking at different ways of doing things. I really believe they're the ones that are going to find the exponential differentiator with digitization, right? And that really is, we're making a significant investment, right? And for how you leverage it as the channel team and how you invest in it, whether it's on the product side or, it's product training, understanding, there's a lot of content we're putting together. How do you actually leverage all of that to move from, today you're focused on maybe meeting customer needs and fulfilling orders, and how do we actually drive to, shaping demand and shaping our customer needs and driving specifications and design, right? And I think there's a lot of investment we're putting in place, and it's really the ones that leverage, that I think we'll see it as a differentiator.
Okay, good. Drew, any thoughts on the issue of are you asking the distributors to do anything differently, provide any information, any pushback from them?
No, I think we're all kind of, I think, in very similar spots in stories, and then frankly we have very similar partners and distributors. So in our journey, it's been very similar, right? In the sense of we're just asking to adopt and engage and go that. But I think that next level is going to be about how to build that deeper digital relationship, right? I think historically it's been EDI, is kind of that, as a distributor, okay, I can place an EDI transaction, I'm getting data back and forth. Sometimes that's either not preferred, or it's not where they want to go in the future about how do we build a further connected ecosystem, these ERP punch-outs, these, integrated digital catalogs, things like
right.
that. And I think for us, the biggest thing is going to be that next step of engagement. So we're hearing a lot of that, right? Please engage with us in this way. I think the challenge that we'll probably face, and I think frankly the industry is going to face, is how do you standardize on that? Yeah. Right? As a manufacturer, I can't go to 2,000 partners and develop a unique API or set of integrations to do that. And I think on the flip side, as a distributor, you don't want 5 different ways to support, right? So who's going to develop that standard? Who's going to kind of lead the way in saying, this is how we're going to interact? I think that's the next big challenge, because that's going to take, as Bhavani said, I think, and I'm sure with Eaton and Molly as well, we're investing as manufacturers to build these platforms. That next level is, as a distributor, what is that investment, right? So everybody comes and says, hey, I want all your order status data so I can put into my project management tool.
Right.
Great. Are you willing to put $500,000 into co-development to make that something that scales, and what is that return on investment going to be?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, because the money we save is not absolutely ourselves. That's a 2-year payback at a company our size. Right.
And then I think that's going to be for us as a manufacturer. We go and solve it once. and that investment, how do we leverage and take it to the next that says, and then frankly, to make that next person up, maybe it's not $500,000, maybe it's $100,000 at that point for them because you've already invested, right? I can take that playbook from one partner to the next and kind of walk that.
So, you've brought up a couple of things I'm going to throw back out to the audience. I'm going to throw that same question out to you. Is there data or things that you would like to give back or enter into a digital, if you will, partnership? So we mentioned, an integrated catalog. We mentioned, I brought up point of sale. Are there other digital data, digital data that you have that you think, and you brought up, where are you in the sales process, right? So there's data that distributors have that if shared back with the manufacturers perhaps could be jointly, 1 + 1 = 3. Are there any ideas you have that you think going forward in this digital universe that would be good ideas to share and how sharing it would work? So, yes, you'd be willing to make the investment. In what? Like sales, sales deal data, point of sale data, real-time inventory. Any ideas you have? Yeah, right. We've got one here and then up front. Yeah, go ahead.
Just from as a manufacturer to a distributor, what is the thought process on real-time inventory? Is that preferable to calling a manufacturer to check on inventory? Just out of curiosity. I see George smiling.
Yeah.
Our business is more so having all of that data back to if you're out of it, when you get it back to your distribution center. The more we're connected, the more information that's at the fingertips of the sales team, or that we can download into our system that the customer can view and push it out to the customer. The much better we will be as a channel.
Would if a manufacturer decided to say, okay, well, we want to get real-time inventory, but not necessarily expose our actual inventory, if there was a yes or no scenario of...
Well, I know a lot of us are on sign or have access to different portals for manufacturer inventory. I can just see what I can see already, just automatically in my inventory screen. I know I posted a little clips, and they were both similarly interested in getting inventory feed from my normal records.
I'm wondering the reverse. Would you as distributors be willing to share your real-time inventory back with the manufacturers?
We do. We share it.
Okay. Anybody else already doing it or want to do it? Willing to. I see some nodding heads.
And I think that's key, Bob. I think one thing I've heard kind of on my travels is that reverse process, which is as a distributor, I have somebody who's logging into your tool about ready to place order for product, and they're unaware that it's on the back shelf, right? Because we either that connectivity. So I think that's an interesting dynamic of pulling it up in our tool and saying, okay, I'm ready to place this order. GE has 10,000 of them, but am I aware that a local inventory warehouse that I have down the street has 100 of them? Right? Should I go pull it from that way versus drop shipping to a customer?
Yeah, or
so
even, God forbid, I don't have it, but another distributor has it, and some virtual inventory ideas. So that kind of gets into my next question for the panel here, which is, you've talked about things you've already invested in. And I'm sure you've got a roadmap of what you're going to invest in next. So I guess share with the distributors as much as you can some of the other or future ideas for what you might digitize, and include things like the reverse process. Gosh, if we had point of sales data, we could help them with marketing better or something. So I'm just wondering what kind of beyond what you've already talked about, what do you think the biggest bang for your buck things are? What else is on the roadmap? What's your if I had all the money in the world, we'd do X. So anything from the practical next year, we're going to do X to 10 years in the future. What's on your digital roadmap? for anyone.
All right, so I'll start with, obviously, we're midway through our rollout journey here. We finish up in January, and we've got a whole, set of innovation planned for 2018, right? If you look at, especially for the channel, if you look at how much time you spend on the back office activities around, what we call project execution or order management, and so our goal is to automate that whole thing end to end. So that's going to drive a significant amount of efficiency into the channel next year, right? And I think that's going to be our huge focus for 2018, along with continued innovation on the front end of the process. The second thing is, this is just a completely game-changing equation when it comes to the amount of data we're capturing on all the different parts of the overall value chain. And so the analytics that we can drive, for you, for us collectively, that can help actionable analytics, right? And we've gotten some already in the platform that our channel loves, and some distributors that are working actively with us, giving feedback on here's what I'd like to see, simple things from hit rates to your top customers to, where you're winning, where you're losing, where should you, how do you drive selectivity with, where do you spend time, which customers do you spend time, how much time do you spend on a particular opportunity, and how much time do you spend on a particular quote, right? And you can, so there's behavior there. So there's that, and then there is also just taking the analytics and historical data and trying to automate things in the process, right? An example could be if this type of end user, if it's this type of product, then here's what I see as a typical configuration, and that's data that can then drive recommendations. And so we believe next year, while we have project execution and all the things we can drive in terms of efficiency for you there, analytics will be a big game changing. It'll provide a lot of transparency for all of us throughout the value chain to, really change the customer engagement equation.